going to be making a cereal box puppet theater. So I just have a cereal box here. It can be any size. And since I ate the cereal before I took the box, I had to use some tape to seal up the side that was opened. So I just used regular duct tape. If you don't have duct tape, you can use masking tape, packing tape, any large high-tack tape that you have will work. So seal up the open end of the box, and then on one of the narrow ends of the box, you're going to cut a slit. And this is where your puppets are going to hang from this slit. And you just want to leave enough room around the edge of the box so that your box doesn't fall apart. So cut your slit smaller than the size of the side of the box. Let's see, grab my ruler here. I left about a 1/2 inch all the way around. And to make the cut, you can either take a utility knife and cut a slit and then cut with your scissors, or you can kind of punch a hole with your scissors and then cut out the slit. Then, on the larger sides of the box, you're going to cut an even bigger hole. And I left about 1 inch all the way around. It kind of gives a nice frame to the puppet theater. So for my background in the theater, my daughter and I have been reading a lot about a certain wizard in a fun series that everybody likes. So I wanted to fashion my background after the castle in that series. So I painted a brick wall and some lanterns and some Gothic style windows to kind of make it look like a castle. And then I glued my paper that I did the painting on to a piece of scrap mat board that I had, because I noticed once I painted the picture, the paper kept curling up. And so to prevent it from curling, I glued it to a piece of mat board. Now, if you don't have mat board, you could take another scrap of cardboard and glue your painting or your drawing to the cardboard, and that'll make it nice and stiff. The other thing you could do is you could glue your background directly to the background in your puppet theater, but I decided that I wanted to be able to change the backgrounds. Maybe sometimes it'll be an outside background, or it'll be in a different room, or something like that. So I wanted to be able to remove my background. So in order to make it so you can remove the background, you have to cut the background so it's going to fit into your slit. So it will be slightly smaller than the actual background in the theater box itself, but that's okay. And again, if you want to make it permanent, you can make it go all the way to the edge of the theater box. So, to make my puppets, I just took a piece of paper and some colored pencils, and I drew my characters on them. And then I'll cut around the characters. Now, if you have really fine details on your characters, it's okay if you don't cut every little bit of the white background out. In some of my characters, the legs are kind of slightly apart, so I just left the white paper there because I wanted my characters to have some stability and strength. So right now I'm cutting around the hair. I'm not going to cut every little wisp of hair. I'm just going to cut around the head, just enough to give the outline of the character here. And I'll just cut around the feet here and the bottom of his robes. Okay. So here is my character for my puppet theater. And then on the back, I'm going to glue a popsicle stick to the head of the character, or to the top of it, because my puppets are going to come from the top down in the theater. So I want to make sure that my stick is on the top. So I just put a little dot of glue and press down. Now, if you don't have a popsicle stick, you could just go outside and find a twig like this and use it instead. However, I suggest if you're going to use a twig, you'll want to use glue and maybe a little bit of tape too, because the twig isn't flat like the popsicle stick, so it may roll around a little bit. So adding a little tape to hold it in place will help. So of course with glue, we have to be patient and let it dry. So I'm going to put that aside while it dries. I have a couple more puppet characters here. So when the glue dries, your puppets will look like this, with a stick coming out of the top of their heads. Now, I didn't really think that this looked all that nice, having the graphics from the box around the edge. So I'm going to make a little frame to put around my puppet theater. So I cut my frame a little bit wider than the box, except at the bottom. The bottom is that inch size to cover up the bottom of the box here, because my box is going to sit on the table. So you don't want to extend beyond the bottom, but you can extend beyond the sides and the top. And I made this fancy top by taking a jar of a lid and just tracing circles close together to give it this rounded edge. And so I traced the circles with my pencil, and then I cut out around the scalloped edge that the tracing the lid made. And then I just used a little gold paint to kind of make it a little fancier. So I'm going to take my box here, and I'm going to add some glue all the way around the edges so I can glue the frame onto the box. And again, you don't need a ton of glue. Just one bead of glue all the way around should do it. Okay, so we'll place that on there. Make sure that the bottom doesn't extend over the bottom of the box so that it sits flat on the table, and kind of line it up. Now to make the center cut, you will need a ruler. So if you haven't used a ruler before, ask an older sibling or an adult in the house to help you measure the inch around. And then for my frame on the sides, I made it 2 inches, so it extends a little bit beyond the box. And for the top, I did about 3 inches to the top of this rounded area. But of course you can make it any size you like. Okay, so I'm gonna let my glue dry. Now to draw my characters, since I had to cut out this shape, I actually kept this piece and I traced it on a piece of paper before I drew my puppets. So I knew that they would fit in this space because I didn't want my puppets to be much larger than this opening. So I used the opening that I cut out of here just to make a frame to draw my characters inside so that they wouldn't get too big or wouldn't be too small even, so that they would fit nicely in the window. So now, let's hope my glue is dry enough. I can slip my background into the box. And I'll push it back just a little bit, but it's good to have it at an angle if you're not going to make it permanent, so it leans. And then I can grab my puppets and put them inside and do a little puppet show. And you can make as many characters as you like. You can make as many backgrounds as you like. And you certainly don't have to take characters from a book you've read. You can make up your own. You could make up characters that are people in your family. But whatever you do, once you've finished, you can send us a picture and send it to info@catskillartsociety.org, and we'll share it with everyone who follows us on social media. We'd love to see what you've been up to. Thanks for watching.